Another local peasant has been found dead, drained of his blood with 2 teeth marks on his throat. This black cape was found on the scene. Police are baffled.
Vampires. They've been part of folklore and pop culture for centuries. Whether it's haunting our dreams or teaching our children numeracy, the undead blood-sucking creature is everywhere. But there is only one undeniable king of the vampires, Count Dracula. Hello and welcome to the video. My name's Will, I'm an artist, and I've just finished reading this, the original novel of Dracula by Bram Stoker. And there was one thing that caught me off guard about the Transylvanian king of the undead throughout this book: his appearance. There have been countless iterations of Dracula, ranging from the terrifying to the more light-hearted and amusing. And all of them have brought something slightly unique to the character. Perhaps the most iconic portrayal of the character is by Bela Lugosi.
Come here.
Lugosi starred in the first legally authorised adaptation of the novel, in the 1924 Broadway play, and then also in the 1931 mononymous film. Of course, the reason I specify it was the first legal adaptation of the character is because the 1922 silent film Nosferatu was an unofficial and unauthorised adaptation of the novel. And when Bram Stoker's estate sued for copyright infringement, courts ordered all copies of the film destroyed. Now, Bram Stoker died in 1912, so unfortunately he was unable to see any form of his character come to life. But with the Stoker estate having greenlit the portrayal by Bela Lugosi, we can reasonably say it was somewhat close to what Stoker imagined. And it's important to note that the reason why we have such a collective understanding of the character Dracula today is almost entirely due to Bela Lugosi's performance. Lugosi brought the character such life that, despite his adaptation having several discrepancies from the novel, his image is the one that has been so many times copied, mimicked, and parodied. Even the strange accent and vocal inflections associated with the character come directly from Lugosi's portrayal. In the book, he is merely described as speaking excellent English yet in strange tones, having learnt to speak the language only through books. But Lugosi's accent became synonymous with the character because that's how he really spoke.
You're Hungarian, aren't you, Mr. Lugosi?
Yes, I am. What I mean, I'm Hungarian by birth. I'm an American now. I'm studying now American slang. I know how to say okay and cat's whiskers and baloney and how.
Of course, however, the movie's makers were limited by the technology and cinematic capabilities of the time. For one, the film was shot in black and white, and a physical attribute that is incredibly prevalent throughout the book, but not necessarily associated with the caricature of Dracula, is the colour of his eyes.
I am Dracula.
Throughout the novel, Stoker repeatedly mentions the brightness and the haunting nature of the glowing red eyes. Characters are plagued by nightmares simply of the image of his crimson eyes. During the early stages of the book, the character Mina Harker is looking after her friend Lucy Westenborough, who has fallen ill, and recounts this experience in her diary. The red light was thrown over the East Cliff and the old abbey, and seemed to bathe everything in a beautiful rosy glow. We were silent for a while, and suddenly Lucy murmured as if to herself, "His red eyes again, they are just the same." It was such an odd expression, coming apropos of nothing, that it quite startled me. I slewed round a little, so as to see Lucy well without seeming to stare at her, and saw that she was in a half-dreamy state, with an odd look on her face that I could not quite make out, so I said nothing, but followed her eyes. She appeared to be looking over at our own seat, whereon was a dark figure seated alone. I was a little startled myself, for it seemed for an instant as if the stranger had great eyes like burning flames. While Lugosi's portrayal is the original, there have been several other iconic interpretations of the character. Christopher Lee played the character 10 times, most notably in the 1958 film Horror of Dracula. And Francis Ford Coppola directed Gary Oldman's iconic performance in the 1992 film Bram Stoker's Dracula. This film showed a book-accurate ability of Dracula's to recover his appearance from an old frail man to a younger and stronger one as he became more satiated. Bram Stoker was a master of descriptive language and went to great lengths to describe his fictional creature. In the novel, Stoker describes the Count as a tall old man, clean-shaven save for a long white mustache, and clad in black from head to foot, without a single speck of colour about him anywhere. A mustache, who would have guessed? That's about as good as I can do. Of all the interpretations over the years, how many have had mustaches? Although it makes sense when you consider that probably one of Stoker's greatest influences on the character was Vlad Dracula III, voivode of Wallachia in the 15th century, and commonly known as Vlad the Impaler. And of course, didn't he have a merciless nose neighbour?
I'm really him.
I thought I'd try, seeing as I'm an artist, to paint a portrait of how Bram Stoker imagined his beloved vampire, Tash and all. Early on in the novel, as Jonathan Harker is staying in the castle with the Count, we get an extensive and particularly bone-chilling account of his appearance. His face was strong, a very strong, aquiline, with high bridge of the thin nose and peculiarly arched nostrils, with lofty domed forehead, and hair growing scantily round the temples but profusely elsewhere. His eyebrows were very massive, almost meeting over the nose, and with bushy hair that seemed to curl in its own profusion. The mouth, so far as I could see it under the heavy moustache, was fixed and rather cruel looking, with peculiarly sharp white teeth. These protruded over the lips, whose remarkable ruddiness showed astonishing vitality in a man of his years. For the rest, his ears were pale, and at the tops extremely pointed. The chin was broad and strong, and the cheeks firm though thin. The general effect was one of extraordinary pallor. So, after Halloween this year, make sure to donate to Movember in honour of the great mustachioed villain. Movember is a great cause. It donates to men's health funds all over the world, and their three main pillars for what they raise money for are suicide prevention, testicular cancer, and prostate cancer. This year I'll have an account so you can donate to my funds. I'm aiming to raise $200, of which I'll contribute 50. So I'll leave a link in the description for that. I'll leave the QR code on screen if you want to. But yeah, thanks for watching. Happy Halloween.
Oh, it's nothing serious, just a small cut from that paperclip. It's just a scratch.